Time for a haircut.
I was running through the six with my woes.
Hello, this is Dave K here showing you how to cut your own hair, or how to cut men's hair, or how to cut your own men's hair. Have you ever wondered how to cut your own hair or how to cut men's hair? It can be a complicated question, and today I'm going to show you how I go about cutting my hair. So if you're trying to cut your own hair, if you're trying to cut a man's hair, your husband's hair, your kid's hair, your grandparents' hair, or your best friend's twice removed brother's hair, let's show you how to do it. I've been cutting my own hair for years. I've gotten a few professional haircuts here and there, but most of the time I cut my own hair. I feel like it saves me a lot of time, and it's perfect for those complicated scenarios, like right now, where you may not want to go out and get your hair cut. So without further ado, let me show you how I go about cutting my own hair. First, let's talk about the tools you might need to cut your hair. The first tool you're gonna want, really the most essential tool, in my opinion, is this hair cutting trimmer. I'm gonna open up the hair trimmer and show you a better look at exactly what is in this box, in case you're looking to get something like this. In addition, I have a couple of other items, like a towel I can wrap around myself to keep hair from getting all over me or all over the floor, and you'll of course want something to clean up the hair off the floor. Maybe keep a trash can close by. Inside this hair trimming box, you'll see a variety of items. Here is the hair trimmer itself. You can see with this button right here on the side, I can make this kind of longer or shorter. So if you don't like any of those heads in terms of their length, you can make them a little bit longer or a little bit shorter here by pulling this lever on the side. You've also got this on-off switch, and you need to plug this into a wall in order to get power. But I think this is a great way to cut your hair. I've used a few different tools, but I find this one to be one of the easiest, one of the best. Secondly, we have a variety of heads that you put on that hair trimmer. So you may have seen on the trimmer itself, there were different colors that showed you different inches. So this 8 tells you how many inches it is, and the 5 tells you how many inches it is, 5/8 of an inch. The 8 is a full inch, and they're each 1/8 of an inch shorter or smaller than one another depending upon their number. So these go from 1 to 8, with the 1 here being 1/8 of an inch, the 8 being 1 full inch, kind of every number in between, and you can look at the trimmer itself for the different colors to get an idea of which one is which length. Let me show you the trimmer again for the color key. You can see there's a left and right ear, and then the sizes go from the red here all the way up to that light blue at 1 inch in length. So if you like your hair a little bit longer, for example, sometimes I like to keep my hair longer on the top, you may not want to use that full length one on the top of your head. So you may just want to use scissors, and I can show you a bit of that here today, possibly, but I'll show you in general how I use the tool. Now, my big concern when I'm cutting my own hair is really the sides of my head and the back of my head. I want to make sure I'm able to kind of trim some of the hair back there, as well as cut some of the hair on the side. And I feel like those are some of the hardest things to do, especially with your own hair. So let's get started. To make this easiest, I start with the longest hair. Maybe I'll start with the scissors or the 8 or something longer on top, and then work my way down to those shorter sides. Let's do it. Let's start with the scissors, because I feel like that might be helpful to demonstrate with. What I'll do is I'll pull my hair, figure out which of those pieces are kind of longer, and I'll cut across those longer pieces to kind of level the top of my head. So it can be tricky, not looking quite as much in a mirror as I'd like, but you should be able to see. Maybe I can even use this camera as a mirror, use the little window over here, and see exactly what I'm looking at. It does kind of feel like this part right here is some of the longest hair. So I can just kind of trim across the side like this, in order to ensure that I'm leveling that hair with the rest of my hair. You can see I've got hair in between my fingers there, so you wanna make sure you're definitely staying safe and cutting away from your hands, but I've got kind of that flat level cut, as you can see, so I cut pretty straight there. It gives you an idea of your cutting style. And this is how to cut your own hair, or how to cut men's hair for beginners, by the way. So if you're looking for more expert level, amazing cuts, something crazy cool, you may want to learn a lot more beyond kind of what I know here. But this will get you covered for what you need, I think. Now, since I don't feel like I need the scissors too much, I'm going to try this 8 on the top of my head, see how much hair that cuts for me. As I run it through my head, you can kind of see what looks like it might come off. Anything that comes in this kind of lower crevice back here will probably get cut when I use this 8. So let's give that one a shot. All right, so you can hear I've got the trimmer on. You can flip that switch on the side and turn it off, or turn it back on. And again, you can adjust the length. I'm gonna start out with a long 8 instead of a short. So let's try that on the top of my head and see how things come out. I'd recommend starting on the longer side. If you're worried about length, you want to start with those longer lengths and work your way down. That's why I'm starting with the longest part of my hair and working my way down to the sides. So here we go, and you can kind of hear how much of the hair the trimmer is cutting off. Oh, that's a lot of hair. See, I may have mentioned I don't normally use an 8 on the top of my head. I like to just use scissors, but it can be kind of tricky to cut with scissors on the top of your own head. So I'm going for an 8. We'll see how long it comes out. But the beautiful thing to remember is hair grows back. We're fortunate to be able to grow our hair back over time. So if I end up cutting it a little bit too short, well, then I can always worry about growing my hair back at a later date. That being said, as much as I might like it longer, it's important to remember that the level and the consistency of the hair, in my opinion, is more important. So being able to use this machine, this 8 that just cuts a 1 across the top of my head, 1 inch length across the top of my head, does seem a lot easier, a lot more convenient than using scissors and seeing how the hair comes out in terms of level. With my hair, I've learned that I have to kind of cut with the same length across all angles or all perspectives. So I have to cut from front to back, from back to front, to left to right, all different directions to make sure that one length is truly level. So you can see I'm still getting a lot more hair when I use this one length, which I've already used by cutting in a different angle. So you really want to run over the same part of your head or same part of the man's hair from the same angle multiple times, in addition to from multiple angles, if you're sure that that's the length that belongs on that part of the head. Ooh, look at that. I'm getting a lot of hair coming out. This is a lot easier with a mirror. I have a mirror way back here, and I would advise, kind of where I have this camera, you use a mirror. You want as many mirrors as you can, as close to the action as possible, to really have a clear picture of what you're doing. Because you can see, for me, it's really tricky to see what's going on without looking at that mirror. However, looking at the mirror, it does seem like my hair is pretty good, or even a little bit short for me on the top of my head. So I think I can move down from the top of my head to a different angle. I also would recommend switching off hands to get the best angle for you. It is very challenging to try to make sure you get the angle just right. So don't worry about that hand to catch the hair. You can clean up the hair later, but you want to make sure you're using the right hand to cut the hair and to follow along if needed, or maybe two hands kind of shadowing each other just to make sure that you're cutting the hair exactly as you want to. I'm still thinking about maybe we hit a certain goal, I'll shave my head or something funny like that, because you can tell. I cut my hair, I could probably figure out how to shave it all off. I'd advise not talking and getting hair in your mouth when you're cutting your own hair too. Just another fun idea for you. I do feel this is one of the easiest ways to cut your hair, is that it's just kind of level. You know, I can create this consistent length across the top of my head with this 1 inch, and then I can work my way down. When I get to the sides, I'll just figure out what point on the side of my head I want to make sure is a shorter length. So we'll get to that here shortly. I'm just about done with the top of my head, I think, for now. One of the things I'll want to do though is I'll want to go and confirm, really look in a mirror and make sure the top of my hair is the length that I'm looking for. So I did cut off a lot more hair than I was expecting to. And you can see with my hair, it's kind of wavy hair, kind of has those ebbs and flows. You can see, because it's kind of shorter than it would normally be, it kind of waves off into nothingness. So if I kept it a little bit longer, it might just be more consistent looking, or if it were shorter, I'd cut out some of those waves. But right now it's kind of got that wave flow to it, and it'll grow back into a point where those waves all kind of evenly flow into their kind of maximum length. Just gonna try to clean this up though. Another thing you can do is, if you're not sure those sides are the same length, hit those sides and the whole head with that 8-inch length, just to make sure that everybody is at least that length, if not shorter. Because for me, I want to make sure the top of my hair is the longest. So I'll use that 5-inch or that 8-inch. It's a 1-inch, but it's the 8 tool. I want to use that across my head. You might be surprised by how much hair you can cut off with such a simple tool. It really adds up. Got this huge mound of hair here, and that's just the first attempt clearing off the top. So I got to work my way down to the sides, and the back and the bottom. We'll do that next. I'm gonna try a 6 on the side of my hair. I feel like that's probably on the longer side for me, but again, you want to be safe first. You want to go longer first, and then you can work your way down. You can't grow the hair back instantly. So I'd rather use a 6 and work my way down to a 5. Let's see how it comes out. So again, switching hands to work this left side, and you really want to keep your eyes on that mirror if you can. I'm going to use the screen here, so it seems like I'm looking more at you. It's a little bit tricky with this setup, but it's for the vlog, so that you can see how I do this. So I want to come at this left side from all directions, front, back, up to down, left to right, to make sure that it's truly level at this 6 length. So I'll feel my hair to check the length, and it does feel pretty good on those sides. I'm not sure I need to go shorter, but I think I might need to level it up a little bit more. So I'll run over those same sides with the same length from different angles, just to kind of cut that last bit of hair that's less than even. Now I gotta be careful not to go too high with this. I'll look out for those sides to make sure I'm trimming exactly to the length that I determine is as high as I wanna go on those sides. So for me, it's right around here. I wanna make sure I go no higher than. And now I'm trimming the back of my head to the same 6 length. Again, I want to make sure that everywhere that's supposed to be equal to or shorter than the length of the sides is indeed. So I'm using the 6 on the back of my head. You'll see I use one of my hands kind of as a level to make sure I don't go too high on my head. I don't want to trim the top of my head with a 6, just the rest of my head. And the more times I run over the same part of my head with this same level, the same length, 6, the more I can be sure that it's going to be consistently that length all across my head. So I'm going to keep running with the 6
I was running through the 6 with my woes.
until I feel fully comfortable.
Running through the 6 with my woes.
The towel is a little bit constricting for me here, so I'm gonna try it without. I'm gonna wash this shirt anyways. So again, a little bit shorter than I'd probably like on the top. Maybe next time I'll just use scissors. But what you'd want to do again is pull your hair straight up and down like that. Use scissors to cut across and kind of keep an eye out on what is level. So it's a little bit hard to do again with the camera here, with me not sitting perfectly flat and levelly, trying to give you an example and a demonstration. But it seems like overall I'm pretty good with the top being a little bit longer with the sides here. I'm checking to make sure the length of these sides and the back feels short enough for me to then move on. All right, I'm moving on. I think I'm gonna use this 3 to kind of cut some of the back of my hairs there to make sure that those lower hairs on the back of my head and neck aren't quite too long. So you'll see I try to use my hand as a level there, set a certain height and say, okay, hey, this is kind of the maximum height I want to use that 3 length on. Hopefully it looks okay back there. This isn't the easiest setup on which to do this demonstration because, well, I need a lot of mirrors, and it's kind of restricting in terms of being able to see what I'm doing, but that's just how it goes, and I've done this blind before too. So what I'll do for the very bottom, the very back of my head, is I'll use my hand again as a level, and I'll only cut downwards from there. I might even use a 0 and cut downwards on the back of my neck to make sure I have a totally level back of my neck instead of like a uneven trim right where my neckline is. So maybe I'll start with a 1 and work my way down to a 0, we'll see. So right now I'm looking for where that line is. I think it's right around here that I want to keep level. Now I'd strongly recommend for the back of your neck, it's easiest to have a friend help you out if you can, because you can tell I can't really see what's going on back there. I'm really hopeful that I keep a straight level, but if you've got someone available to help you out, you should try that. By feeling the back of my head a little bit more, I can tell it's not quite level. So I'm gonna try a little bit more and see if I can make that cut right in terms of the bottom area. There's a lot of hair kind of lower to the sides that I didn't cut. I need to cut all the way down, something to keep in mind. Overall, I think I've done a pretty decent job. I'm telling you, that back of the head, back of the neck area is extremely challenging to do on your own. So definitely, if you can, get a friend. But if you're just doing Zoom calls, you don't even have to really worry about the back of your neck, right? If you can do the top, if you can do the sides, you'll be all right. So I got up and took a closer look, and overall, I feel like I did a pretty good job. I feel like it's pretty level across the board. I don't think I'm missing anything. You know, I'd want to grab that trimmer again and maybe clean up, for example, the sides. If one part was a little bit longer than the rest, maybe I will clean up this little bit right here. I'm gonna keep checking around. Again, the top's probably a little bit shorter for me than I would like, but it's a lot easier to use the trimmer than it is to use scissors, especially when videoing at this angle on my own head. If maybe I were straight up and down, the scissors would be a little bit easier, and that's kind of the best way to use scissors. If you're cutting a friend's hair or cutting your own hair, try to sit straight up and down and cut vertically. Hold your hand vertically and cut across vertically to keep that hair kind of vertically level. But overall, you can see how you can go about doing this even blind. Cutting the back of your own hair without being able to see the back of your own head. It's really a cool way to do it. I would not recommend, though, trying that at home, cutting the back of your own hair. If you have some help around, you should see if you can get some help. But when I do it normally, I'll use a lot more mirrors. When I did it right there for you blind, I got lucky that it worked out so well. Boom. So I think that'll do it for me, and let's see how it looks post-shower, because again, I know my own kind of wavy hair here, and that'll show me the best results, the true results of how well I did, or if anything is unlevel after I shower. So let's show you how that looks. First, I'm gonna clean up a little bit though. So my haircut is now complete, and I've showered, and as you can see, it looks like it came out pretty well. As a bonus bit of information for you, I also like to shave with that same tool. So I'll take all of the heads off of the tool. It'll be a 0 in length. I'll kind of choose the point at which I want to shave up to in terms of sideburns, and then I'll shave downwards from there and shave my entire face with that 0 length. Same tool, that hair clipper, which gives me a not too close shave. I like to shave, but not too close, leave a little bit of kind of shadow on my face, so I like to use that tool for that purpose too. And a recap of some of the things we touched on today. Start with the longest hair and work your way down to those shorter parts. That way, you've completed one section of your hair. You don't have to worry about going back to it. Also, don't worry if you make mistakes. You can always cut your hair again a couple months later, a couple weeks later, depending upon how much hair you cut off, how long it takes to grow back. I once shaved kind of a giant hole into the back of my head. I had no blade top. I had no length trimmer on the tool, so I wound up shaving like a 1 length or a 1/8 inch into the back of my head. You just gotta deal with it sometimes and work around it. Stay positive. It's a learning experience. One other note I want to touch on once more. If you have the opportunity to get some help cutting your own hair, I would recommend doing that. So you can show this video to your friend so that they can see how to cut your hair instead of you having to worry about how you'll cut it yourself. Thanks so much for being a part of the fun with me today. I hope you enjoyed this insider look at how I go about cutting my own hair and how you can go about cutting your own hair or cutting men's hair. If you haven't already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to stay informed of future adventures. And until next time, play on. The first tool, this is the hair clipper. I dropped something. So if you like your hair a little bit longer, for example, on the top like me, you may not want to go all the way down to that one in order to... And this is cutting your own hair or cutting men's hair for beginners, by the way. So if you're looking for how to cut and using scissors and all right, I'm moving down. I'm thinking I'll try on the back of my head, maybe like a 3, kind of lower down towards the bottom half of my neck there to kind of cut some of these longer hairs, which I don't... If you haven't already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stay informed